I've never been out. I don't go out much, so I don't know anything about the streets or anything. My two little sisters right now are chained up.
Yes, I don't have proof of everything, but I have proof that my sisters are chained up.
Who took this picture?
13. I did. I took those pictures.
Okay.
Please subscribe to our channel and turn on bell icon to watch more real true crimes around the world.
Nothing's going to be as bad as 29 years in what the only word I know to call it is hell.
On a regular day in Paris, California, the police would get a call from a 17-year-old girl that would shock not just the town, but the whole world.
911 emergency, what are you reporting?
Help.
This is 911, do you have an emergency?
I just ran away from home.
Do you know what street you're on?
No. I just ran away from home because I live in a family of 15, okay? Can you hear me? And we have abusing parents. Did you hear that?
Okay, how did they abuse you?
Okay. They hit us, they throw us across, they like to throw us across the room. They pull our hair, they yank out our hair.
The story that follows is filled with torture abuse and a general lack of any human decency afflicted towards a group of children by the people they were supposed to trust the most. When the police arrived at the house and opened the door, they would be greeted by a gruesome scene that most of them had ever seen. Children chained to their beds, some starved till they were nothing but skin and bone, and all of them traumatized to a point that they will carry it throughout their lives. All of it was caused by the two people that were supposed to protect them from the cruelty of the world, their parents. On a late night on January 14th, 2018, a 17-year-old girl called Jordan Turpin would call 911 and have a strange conversation with the operator. She would describe the scenes of her house in details that were shocking, saying that they lived in filth and fear of their parents. She would talk in a way that seemed off to anyone who's come across a 17-year-old girl before.
Okay, how old are you?
I'm 17.
What's your name?
Jordan Turpin.
The operator sends an officer her way and keeps talking to her and gets even more information. Jordan and her siblings have never been allowed to come in contact with anyone ever. This was the first time Jordan has talked to anyone who isn't a family member.
What's your address?
Okay, you guys, give me a minute. This is going to take a while. I've never been out. I don't go out much, so I don't know anything about the streets or anything.
She ran away, sneaking out of the window at night just to save her sisters, who were chained up in the house. This act of courage and bravery would mark her as not just a girl who escaped from an abusive home, but a hero. Soon a police officer arrives and confirms that this odd and mysterious girl is actually real. And this situation has turned into something that would turn his hard shift into a much harder one. Jordan tells him that she's taken pictures of her sisters that were chained up because they stole food from her mother. And once he saw those photos, he knew he wasn't in for just another runaway teenager. The next morning, the police pulled up to the house that Jordan ran away from. They knock on the door for over 2 minutes, and just as they are about to give up, their door swings open, and they're greeted by Louise and David Turpin. They're the parents of this household, and they look nervous. They try to convince the cops to leave, but the police are determined and walk into the house. Once inside, they discover a house filled with absolute filth and children chained up to their beds, just as Jordan said in her call. Children were found with bruises on their arms, appearing frail and caked with dirt. The children were so malnourished that deputies thought they were all under 18 years old, when in fact 7 were over 18. The reason for all of this torment are David and Louise, 2 kids who grew up in a small town in West Virginia. David was a nerdy kid growing up and even had a stutter. He went to graduate from Virginia Tech and was offered a job at Lockheed Martin. Louise, who is 6 years younger than David, grew up in a religious family and a member of a Bible group. They got married when she was just 16 years old and moved into a nice house in Fort Worth, Texas. They have a religious belief that God has put a responsibility on them to have as many children as possible. And soon they have their first child, Jennifer. They tried to put her in school, but the vile smell that came from her being unwashed drove them to take her out. And subsequently, no other child of theirs would go to school. Soon the kids grew to 13, but none of them were allowed to go outside of the house and to respect their mother and father. They threatened the kids with violence and even death, saying the Bible allowed them to have that power over their children. The parents enjoyed their lives as they kept the kids living in horror, once in a while taking them out. At one time, the kids were all dressed up and went to the vow renewal of their parents, smiles on their faces, because this is what is fun to them, not knowing what the world had to offer. In 2010, they moved to Paris, California. Louise was somewhat of a hoarder, buying children's clothes and toys, racking up huge credit card bills, but not letting her kids touch any of them. The kids were kept in the house, not even allowed to look out the window. The Turpins were all homeschooled, something the parents called Sandcastle Day School, with David as principal and Louise as the teacher. And on the rare occasions they go out, they are instructed to not speak to strangers. Some older kids were trusted to have smartphones, so David and Louise can keep tabs on what's going on in the house when they are gone. And one day, Jordan borrowed one of those phones and stumbled upon an artist that would inspire her to be brave. She realized that there is more to the world out there than just dirt and starving. That artist, surprising to all, is Justin Bieber. She watched all of his videos and learned new words and what life could be like outside of their house. One day, Jordan would be caught watching a video online and got choked out by Louise. So much so that she kept having nightmares about her dying in the hands of her mother. And one fateful night, Jordan has finally had enough, so she plans her escape, knowing full well that this would be her last act if she would get caught. But before she left, she remembers from a TV show called Cops that she would need proof of what was going on inside the house. So they decide to take pictures of the things happening inside the House of Horrors. They get the news that they would all be moving to Oklahoma the very next day, so it was now or never for Jordan and her plan to escape. She put pillows under her blanket so her parents wouldn't know she would be gone. She climbs out of the window and runs down the street to call 911. And when the deputy arrived, she showed him the pictures that she took of her chained-up sisters. That very day, officers show up at the house and search it to find the things that were said by Jordan, exactly as gruesome as she said they would be.
Hi, sorry to bug you.
Good.
Once inside, they find the scene of a filthy house, the floors filled with human waste, trash everywhere, molding food, layers and layers of trash. They even found unopened toys. They continued to search, and once they got to the bedrooms, they found the kids without the chains, but still bruised up on their arms. Then one of the cops spots a door behind David. They walk in and see the 3 children in bed, a boy chained up in the top bunk. He's been here for weeks. They keep looking and find the chains hidden in a closet. Now they have all the proof they need, so they go back to the living room and put David and Louise in handcuffs. All the children were taken to the hospital and found that the children were severely malnourished and crushed by years of physical and emotional abuse. On January 14, 2018, at the Riverside County Courthouse, the district attorney tells the press,
7 counts, abuse of a dependent adult. 6 counts, child abuse. 12 counts of false imprisonment.
In the courtroom, a sense of justice falls over everyone as we see David chained to his chair with shackles around his ankles. Louise is trying to get the case against her thrown out because of her recently being diagnosed with histrionic personality disorder. A certain secret comes out in the courts that Louise had been a victim of continuous sexual assault in her family since she was a little girl by a close family member. The judge throws out the plea for insanity. They break down and cry, trying to give the statements to the court. On February 22, 2019, David and Louise each changed their not guilty pleas to guilty to 1 count of torture, 3 counts of willful child abuse, 4 counts of false imprisonment, and 6 counts of cruelty to an adult dependent. Both were sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 25 years. Experts believe they will never receive parole due to the severity of the crime, making it effectively a life sentence. But the ending isn't as happy as it would seem. The children would fall into the system's mercy after escaping, and they would be treated not so much differently as they were back in their days. As of June 2022, many of the younger children have been victimized again by the system, as they were fostered by people who were later charged with abuse, according to USA Today. That same report claims that some of the older siblings experienced periods of housing instability and food insecurity as they transitioned to independence. One of the elder siblings, Jordan Turpin, has turned to TikTok to garner donations and support for herself and her family. Jack Osborne, an attorney who represents the Turpin kids, said that they're not really looking back now. They're looking forward, working on school, working on their health, and working on learning and doing basic life skills. Osborne maintains that they are all working toward their own independence. They want people to know them for who they are and what they are going to be doing. So that's all for today. Thank you for watching this video. Like and subscribe for more videos. See you in the next one.